Good afternoon. State Secretary Leendertse, State Secretary Feicht, Director General La Camera, speakers and panelists, and members of the public, welcome to this BETDE panel on geopolitics and economic opportunities of hydrogen. My name is Jennifer Porto, and I'm the host of the virtual BETD's Green Sofa Dialogues. I'm so happy to be joined by today's guests, who will appear with us here at the Federal Foreign Office and from around the world. Here in Germany, as in Europe and elsewhere, we find ourselves in the midst of the second wave of the coronavirus pandemic. Our thoughts continue to be with those in the healthcare sector as they work daily to keep others alive. The recent news regarding a vaccine has buoyed us all, but the pandemic is not yet over. And in the midst of this ongoing crisis, policymakers, industry actors, and financial institutions are already thinking about what comes next. All over the planet, the words "Build Back Better" are on everyone's lips. Building back better means making the COVID-19 recovery a lasting and sustainable one. And the European Green Deal is an integral component of this ambitious idea. As we collectively navigate the possibilities and challenges presented by the energy transition, there are many unanswered questions and unclear paths ahead. Today, we'll be looking at the issue of the profound changes facing the geopolitical map should hydrogen become as important an energy carrier in the future as fossil fuels are today. While most hydrogen research focuses on the technical and cost hurdles involved in developing a full-scale hydrogen economy, too little consideration may have been given to the geopolitical drivers and implications of global hydrogen developments. The technologies and infrastructures that underpin a hydrogen economy can take a variety of forms, and the decisions about which path to take are the subject of competition between distinctive stakeholders and countries. Cross-border maritime trade in hydrogen has indeed the potential to fundamentally redraw the geography of global energy trade, create a new class of energy exporters, and reshape geopolitical relations and alliances between countries. International governance and investments to scale up hydrogen value chains could reduce the risk of market fragmentation, carbon lock-in, and intensify geo-economic rivalry. The speeches and discussion round on today's program shall shed light on the many variables that will dictate renewable hydrogen's future: technology, infrastructure, governance, and geopolitics. Opening today's program is Antje Leendertse, State Secretary of the German Federal Foreign Office. She provided the brilliant and insightful closing remarks at the 2019 BETD conference, and it is only fitting that she open our first live event this year. After that, we will hear a speech by Andreas Feicht, State Secretary of the Federal Ministry for Economic Affairs and Energy. He will join us via video call and will speak on energy partnerships and hydrogen. Following him is Francesco La Camera, Director General of the International Renewable Energy Agency, IRENA, whom I had the pleasure of meeting over Twitter 2 days ago, following his insightful appearance on the IEA Big Ideas speaker series. We are so pleased he accepted our invitation to join us today. Then, Kirsten Westphal, Senior Associate of the German Institute for International and Security Affairs, will lead a virtual panel entitled "The New Oil, Geopolitics and Economic Opportunities of Hydrogen." Joining her will be individuals from industry and government ministers from around the globe. She will introduce her panel when it begins, and together they will address a variety of questions concerning the biggest obstacles facing a global hydrogen economy. Last but not least, Michael Chlor-Berchthold, Director General for Economic Affairs and Sustainable Development at the Federal Foreign Office, will bring this 90-minute event to a close as he provides final remarks. And now, please join me in welcoming our first speaker to the podium, Antje Leendertse. Madam Secretary, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mrs. Porto, for this very kind introduction. And I start with greetings for State Secretary Feicht, who is my co-host today. Greetings also to Director General La Camera, who will join us later, as Jennifer pointed out. And welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to this very important event in our view. Today's event takes place in a time where the entire world seems to be at crossroads. Not last and least, the election of Mr. Biden as future US president, we hope that the United States will also revert to climate protection. The European Union, Germany, Japan, South Korea and China have all committed to reach climate neutrality by 2050 or 2060 respectively. Climate neutrality is an ambitious goal, which seems far away today, but we are registering encouraging progress, and it's worth emphasizing the following facts. Renewables have come a long way in decarbonizing the power sector. They are today competitive with all other energy sources in most regions of the world. The peak in global demand for coal was in 2014, so that seems to lie behind us. A number of experts even claim that the global demand for oil peaked in 2019. Whether this is true or not, this means that whoever now considers investing in fossil fuels should be aware that these are outgoing technologies that are most likely going to turn into stranded assets. However, the road to climate neutrality is not a shoo-in. It will require strong efforts by governments across the world. So what about hydrogen? We expect carbon dioxide neutral hydrogen and other hydrogen-based fuels to play a crucial role. These fuels have potential to replace fossil fuels to a large extent in industry, transport, buildings, and other sectors. The steel industry has embarked on this path and is already an important consumer of hydrogen. Fuel cells in vehicles and heating systems can already be powered by hydrogen. Even kerosene could in the future be replaced by carbon dioxide neutral fuels based on hydrogen, thus solving the puzzle of climate-friendly air traffic. The technology already exists, but the regulatory framework needs to be adjusted to make such hydrogen technology fully competitive. Ladies and gentlemen, the European Union and Germany are stepping up their production of hydrogen. But we won't be able to satisfy our demand for carbon dioxide neutral hydrogen by domestic production. Neither do we have enough space for renewables to produce enough green hydrogen, nor do we have significant other sources for hydrogen. We will therefore have to import large quantities of hydrogen. So the €1 million question is, who will be our future energy providers? The search has already begun. This potential shift in international energy supply lines has significant geopolitical implications. Currently, the Gulf states, the Russian Federation, and many other states base their business models on exporting fossil fuels. If their business models are put in question by global energy transition and by a global market for carbon dioxide neutral hydrogen, this could cause serious economic, political, and security risks. We here at the German Foreign Office want to anticipate such potential risks and use diplomacy to avoid a possible threat to international peace and stability coming from these risks. This is the reason why we work towards a global hydrogen diplomacy with a focus on the dialogue with states which are currently exporting fossil fuels. At the same time, through our diplomatic missions, we will also increase our outreach to all countries interested in hydrogen cooperation. For our foreign policy decisions and strategy, thorough research and facts-based advice is of essential importance. The report of the Global Commission on the Geopolitics of Energy Transformation of January 2019 was very valuable in this regard. Since then, there have been very profound developments with geopolitical implications. The COVID-19 pandemic, the decrease in global oil demand, the announcements of climate neutrality goals, and in particular, ambitious hydrogen strategies by the EU and many other countries. IRENA has done tremendous work on previous reports. We very much appreciate the close collaboration with IRENA and have supported the agency from the very beginning. With today's event, we would like to launch a process leading to a new geopolitical report by IRENA, this time covering the geopolitical implications of a global market of carbon dioxide neutral hydrogen. We are going to support IRENA with a voluntary contribution and with expertise. But before we launch this process, I'm very much looking forward to the interventions of State Secretary Feicht and Director General La Camera and the panel debate by frontrunners on hydrogen from Chile, Morocco, Portugal, Norway, and Ukraine. State Secretary Feicht will address us, but I give the floor back to Jennifer now. Thank you.
Thank you very much, State Secretary Leendertse, for those opening words. And now I think we will go live to Andreas Feicht, State Secretary of the Federal Ministry for Economic Affairs and Energy, who joins us now via video call. Hello and welcome.
Hello, Jennifer. Thank you very much for this very warm welcome and introduction. Dear Excellencies, dear colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, first of all, I would like to thank my dear colleague Antje Leendertse for hosting this event today, doing that with me together, and we are working very close together. Thank you very much, Antje, for that. In times like these, it's crucial that we keep up our exchange, no matter we do so face-to-face in conference rooms or virtually from our offices and living rooms. And in these challenging times, these formats are very worthwhile. But next time, I hope we can see us physically. Regardless of the pandemic, it is crucial for us to keep up our ambitions for what we call Energiewende, the German energy transition. Our goal by 2030 is to have 55% less greenhouse gas emissions as compared to 1990, 30% of renewable energy share in gross final energy consumption, 65% share of renewable energy in the electricity sector by 2030, a higher energy efficiency amounting to a 30% reduction in primary energy consumption compared to 2008. The federal government remains fully committed to these targets and to the double phase-out of both nuclear and coal-powered electricity generation, which will support our transition to a climate-neutral economy by 2050. Up to now, we have already above about 50% of renewable energies in our electricity demand now in 2020. So it shows that it works out and it is reasonable to reach its targets. To turn such targets into life, we need new innovative measures and cutting-edge technologies. To provide clear strategic direction and to support the creation of a conducive regulatory framework, Germany adopted its national hydrogen strategy in July this year. Our national hydrogen strategy aims at developing the production and use of green hydrogen at scale in order to decarbonize those sectors that are not feasible to electrify, such as heavy and chemical industry, freight, aviation. For this to be cost efficient as soon as possible, we have to ramp up production now and develop a global market for sustainable hydrogen. Germany cannot produce, as Antje mentioned, all the sustainable hydrogen we need domestically. Germany was, is, and will remain an energy importer. Blue hydrogen will probably play a role in the European market for a transitional period, but we want all our energy imports to be carbon neutral in the future. Until 2030, our goal is to launch a domestic market for hydrogen with a national production capacity of 5 gigawatts of electrolyzers up till 2030, as I mentioned, but another 5 gigawatts up to 2035. In our strategy, an action plan of 38 measures covers the first phase until 2023. We want to focus on integrated projects covering the whole value chain. This is important to drive the integration of hydrogen into the energy system forward. Today, I'm not only speaking to you from the perspective of a German official, but also from the perspective of the presidency of the EU Council. As one of our key priorities in the field of energy, hydrogen will play a crucial role in enhancing and completing the European energy transition. We are convinced of the future potential of hydrogen to replace fossil fuels, both as a fuel and as a feedstock. Many member states have adopted national hydrogen strategy and have announced substantial financial commitments to the decarbonization of the gas sector. In order to maintain and promote Europe's pioneering role in hydrogen technologies, we need to act now. Therefore, we welcome and support the intense current efforts on hydrogen at the European level. During the present German EU Council presidency, we aim to progress in our discussions on a number of crucial issues which need to move forward simultaneously. Firstly, the development of a supportive framework for a future internal hydrogen market in the EU, particularly for hydrogen from renewable sources. Secondly, the demand-side technologies. And thirdly, the construction of hydrogen production facilities within the EU and possible sources of supply from outside the EU, including the necessary infrastructure. We want the EU to take a leading role in this field and in order to contribute to decarbonization as well as to industrial innovation and competitiveness. Legislative packages in 2021 will set the stage for future infrastructure development. In this context, we look forward to supporting the subsequent Council presidencies and our trio partners, Portugal and Slovenia, in the upcoming year 2021. Beyond European efforts, we want to build international partnerships in order to create hydrogen trading relations on a global scale. We want to support the establishment of hydrogen value chains and large-scale production facilities in countries where green hydrogen can be produced in an efficient way and where the import to Germany is technically possible and economically viable. The German recovery package earmarks 2 billion euros funding for international hydrogen pilot projects. With these projects, we want to demonstrate how green hydrogen can be produced and marketed at scale using German technology. Many countries can be potential partners in this regard. We are looking for partners with abundant potential for renewable energy who are themselves looking to become hydrogen exporters. There is no regional focus included in this strategy. It will be up to the industry to identify the most promising foreign investment decisions and engage in setting up projects abroad. It is crucial that we involve the private sector in these projects. Companies should drive the implementation of the strategy, with the government supporting the efforts of the private sector. The National Hydrogen Strategy is not just an energy policy strategy, but just as much an industrial policy strategy. German companies such as Siemens, ThyssenKrupp, and MAN, but also many SMEs, are world leaders in many segments related to the energy transition and to hydrogen. We want to support them in demonstrating their know-how by funding large-scale demonstration projects and help them establish themselves as central players in this sector of the future. I'm happy that Chile's Minister Jobet is joining today's panel. With Chile, we are happy to progress on a joint green hydrogen project using the abundant wind energy in Chile's south. This could be a successful example where we create jobs and added value in both countries, while at the same time helping to decarbonize our planet. Summing up, together with our international partners, we share the view that a successful energy transition must take a global approach. By supporting a global market for green hydrogen, we want to set the stage for a just and economically successful global energy transition. We strongly believe that the future belongs to green hydrogen. Thank you very much, and I'm looking forward to the panel.
Thank you, State Secretary Feicht. Now we'll go live to Francesco La Camera, Director General of the International Renewable Energy Agency, who joins us from IRENA headquarters in Abu Dhabi. Director General La Camera, hello, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Jennifer. Dear Ministers, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, it's a real pleasure to be here today with you and share a few thoughts on the geopolitics of hydrogen. Allow me at the outset to thank the BTD team for their tireless work to promote the dialogue and communication on the energy transition themes. Hydrogen and the geopolitics of hydrogen are important themes in the agency agenda. We convened at the occasion of our General Assembly last January a dialogue on hydrogen with participants at ministerial level, as well as company and stakeholders representatives. The General Assembly, considering the leading role in the energy transition and the global membership of the agency, asked ARENA to lead the work on hydrogen, also in the context of further work on geopolitics. On this, I wish to recognize Germany's leadership in bringing this topic to the forefront of the global debate. Germany, along with the UAE, is leading ARENA's collaborative framework on the geopolitics of the energy transition, where hydrogen will be one of the issues to be analyzed in more depth, building on the substantial ongoing agency work on hydrogen. And I wish to also to thank Germany for the support in this work, in terms of expertise and also financial resources. As we delve deeper into the topic of this meeting, let me briefly reflect on the broader context of the changing geopolitics of energy. The immense pressure on the energy sector to respond to what many already define as the main geopolitical risk of the 21st century, climate change. And we know that our ability to transform the current energy system will decide whether we will be able to curb the impact of climate change. The science is clear. We have a small window of opportunity to make a timely shift in our unsustainable system and practice. We need to accelerate the energy transition that is already in place. We need to reverse the today's contribution of non-renewable and renewable supply in the global energy system. And we must do rapidly. The IPCC 1.5 report set very clear targets. CO2 emissions should decrease by 45% in 2030 compared to 2010 and be almost zero in 2050. This means that oil and coal should be already peaked and gas should be peaked no later than 2025. This requires extraordinary efforts. What is happening in the sector is transformational. Renewables will be the bulk of the energy system of the future, complemented by electrification, green hydrogen use, and modern bioenergy. We are not just replacing one fuel for another. We are overhauling the existing system with decentralized technologies and rapid digitalization. This is a significant change for a sector traditionally dominated by a limited number of actors, disproportionately affecting the geopolitics dynamics. Today, 80% of countries are fossil fuel importers. By contrast, virtually every country has some renewable potential. And with falling costs of renewable technologies, all have the potential to harness indigenous resources. This fundamentally changes the global energy dynamics and is becoming a major geopolitical force, changing the power structure of regions and states bringing the promise of energy independence to nations and communities, enhancing energy security and democratic empowerment, and opening new economic opportunities. Many are already benefit from ambition in this regard and use renewable energy to create new alliances and influences, as we have heard from State Secretary Feicht, for example, mentioning the partnership between Germany and Morocco and the coming one with Chile. We need to think of hydrogen in the same terms, not as a replacement for the current fuel and technologies, but as an avenue for innovation and ability to think differently. Hydrogen has been a staple in the energy and chemical industries for decades. It has attracted short-lived attention several times in the past. But the backdrop of climate change today makes a significant difference. Many countries, Austria, Australia, Canada, Chile, and I'm sure that Minister Jobet will talk about this in the panel, France, Germany, Italy, Morocco, the Netherlands, Norway, Portugal, and Spain, along with the European Union, to mention some, announced or released national hydrogen strategies. Several post-COVID-19 recovery packages, notably Germany, we just heard, including support measures to clean hydrogen. Financial pledges have been significant. But we have seen another important development. The emphasis of this new strategy has shifted away from the focus on hydrogen as just a vehicle fuel toward industry and product differentiation, including for long-range transport and future competitiveness. This is a game-change development, but still transitioning hydrogen from a niche player to widespread energy carrier will require action on many levels, including technology, policy, and markets. Arena has analyzed many of these, and I will share some of our view. First, hydrogen has the advantage of being available for a wide range of uses. But this versatility can sometimes be counterproductive because it can dilute focus and limit progress in specific uses. It is therefore important that domestic strategy to concentrate efforts around the most impactful area for their realities. Arena considers that more attention should be placed on trade of energy-intensive commodities produced with hydrogen, ammonia, iron and steel making, and liquid for aviation, marine bunkers or feedstock for synthetic organic materials production seems to be the Prime Minister, as also mentioned by State Secretary Feicht. While cost and efficiency barrier need to be overcome, benefit may be significant, especially if accompanied by accelerated deployment of renewables. Such an approach can reshape the trade partners and create immense economic benefits. Second, global standard and common technology are essential to enable hydrogen trading across borders. Standardized infrastructure and use the same sustainability criteria to guarantee the carbon content of hydrogen in general and the carbon.
We are having a few technical difficulties. And I hope that Mr. La Camera will be back with us in just a moment. Let's pause and wait for him to rejoin us.
Policies to account for the system and value the green hydrogen, what the green hydrogen can bring.
Mr. La Camera.
At the same time, new policies are needed to create local value chains for hydrogen and to encourage demand for product made with hydrogen. It is important that
Mr. La
in
Camera.
building the value chain, a just relationship. Yes?
I'm terribly sorry. We've had a few technical difficulties, and I'd like to ask you to repeat about the last 30 seconds of your prepared remarks.
I will do.
Thank you.
So finally, action are needed to create the socioeconomic space to allow hydrogen to become a part of the energy system. That would include adjustment of the existing policies to account for the system and value that what green hydrogen can bring. At the same time, new policies are needed to create local value chain for hydrogen and its derived product, and to encourage demand for product made with hydrogen. It is important that in building the value chain, a just relationship between developed and developed countries should be built, so that we benefit of the transition, better share among them. Of course, leveling the playing field between fossil fuel and green, and we know that carbon pricing and phasing out of fossil fuel regard. That the stimulus package to respond to the COVID-19 pandemic will prioritize the building of the system and not retrofitting.
Thank you very much, Mr. La Camera, for your remarks. I'm terribly sorry. I think that connection, unfortunately, is not letting us continue with your prepared remarks. I'll make sure that we are able to get them to everyone online. Right now, I'll turn the mic over to Kirsten Westphal, and she will lead a virtual panel discussion that addresses today's main topic, geopolitics and economic opportunities of hydrogen. Ms. Westphal?
Thank you very much, Jennifer. It's my special pleasure and real honor to take over and to guide you all through this digital discussion. Let me first introduce our distinguished and honorable speakers in a row. Good morning to Chile, Energy Minister of Chile, Juan Carlos Jobet. An honor to welcoming you and having you on the panel. Good afternoon to João Galamba, Deputy Minister for Energy of Portugal. Excellent to having you with us. Also good afternoon to Yaroslav Demchenkov, Deputy Minister of Ukraine. Very excited to hearing your views from Ukraine. Mr. Tony Tiller, State Secretary of the Ministry of Petroleum and Energy from Norway. Very eager, good afternoon, to hearing your views. And a warm welcome also to Natalia Westhäuser, Senior Vice President and Head of Business Development and Sales, New Energy Business, Siemens Energy. Will be very interesting to learning from your experience, Ms. Westhäuser. And the same goes to Bakar Iken, Director General of the Research Institute for Solar Energy and New Energies, IRESEN, from Morocco. The panel is titled The New Oil, Geopolitics and Economic Opportunities of Hydrogen. We have kindly asked our panelists for a brief input of 3 minutes max. May I start with His Excellency, Mr. Jobet. Chile has promising preconditions. If the energy carrier hydrogen becomes as important as fossil fuels today, what are the profound changes in the geopolitical map that you foresee?
Well, thank you so much. Hello, everyone. Thank you for the Berlin Energy Transition Dialogue for organizing this event. I think it's very important. Thank you, State Secretary Feicht, for your introduction and your remarks, and the same to Director General La Camera. I want to thank especially to the German government for their continuous support to the development of our own transition energy transition and the development of the hydrogen industry. Just in this quick introduction, I want to say how important this is for us. Chile is a country that has historically depended on fossil fuels, imported fossil fuels. Almost 70% of our energy comes from imported natural gas, coal, and oil. But we have an enormous renewable energy potential that we are developing very quickly. We have the potential, especially in solar and wind capacity, to produce basically 70 times the electricity we need at home. So that opens up many opportunities for us. We will replace fossil fuels across different sectors of the economy with clean electricity, and that includes transportation, industry, heating at homes and industries, and so on. But it also, our potential is so huge that it opens the opportunity to export that renewable electricity to the world in the form of green hydrogen, green ammonia, synthetic fuels, and so on. So we're working very aggressively to develop that industry. We just presented last week our green hydrogen strategy with very clear goals. We were working to be the cheapest green hydrogen producer in the world by 2030. McKinsey and company helped us run the numbers, and they show that we can be able to do that, given the best solar irradiance in the world we have in the north, and very strong and persistent winds we have in the south, especially in Patagonia. We are developing the regulatory framework, building a network of alliances with international players to do that. We're putting public money to support the development of this industry. So this is a very promising opportunity for us. It will help us reach our own carbon neutrality goal. We committed to be carbon neutral by 2050, but it will also help us collaborate with other countries to help them reach their own goals. So for us, energy independence will be obviously a very important result of this strategy if we are successful. And the geopolitical implications are very important, and I really look forward to the discussion on the panel so we can get deeper on that.
Thank you very much, Minister. So let me move to Portugal. Deputy Minister Galamba, will hydrogen shape a new geopolitical map, and what will be the major changes?
Oh, sorry. Good afternoon, dear colleagues. Thank you very much for the invitation. It's really a pleasure to participate in this event, which provides an opportunity to reflect on the opportunities offered by hydrogen in a world where the geopolitics of energy are changing. Let me start by stating my firm conviction that hydrogen is a game changer in the global energy system, impacting energy geopolitical dynamics at the global and regional levels. After more than a century with an energy model based on fossil fuels, we are now witnessing that a growing number of countries is committing to carbon neutrality and to renewable production. Portugal was the first country in the world to do so, and we committed to carbon neutrality formally in 2016, and we are implementing the measures and policies that will enable carbon neutrality by 2050. Renewable hydrogen plays a relevant role in decarbonizing our energy systems, since it offers a pathway towards meeting climate and pollution goals while avoiding dependence on imported fuels. Countries with low-cost renewable production, and especially countries with diversified sources of renewables, appropriate infrastructures offer more favorable conditions to develop the sustainable energy carrier. Portugal is definitely one of those countries. In 2019, Portugal consumed 131 consecutive hours of electricity produced exclusively through renewables. We reached 57% of renewables in electricity production last year. Price world records were beaten twice in photovoltaic auctions, and in this year's auction we achieved 11.26 euros per megawatt hour, the lowest price in the world. Simultaneously, we reduced our greenhouse gas emissions by 26% since 2005, proving that supporting the deployment of renewable energy to face climate and energy challenges is amongst the most cost-effective measures. After initial efforts dedicated to deploy renewables and electrification, we are now mobilizing additional efforts and resources to transform the more traditional and hard-to-abate sectors of our society, such as heavy-duty transports or heavy industry. We believe hydrogen is instrumental in decarbonizing these hard-to-abate sectors. Recently, Portugal adopted its national hydrogen strategy, which foresees the implementation of over 2 gigawatts of renewable hydrogen electrolyzers by 2030. This represents 5% of the EU goal by 2030. We have also changed our legal framework to allow production, distribution, transport, storage, and usage of hydrogen. And we've also extended our legal framework for guarantees of origins for renewable electricity to also include renewable gases. And we will kickstart financially our national strategy this year with a call for direct capex support of 40 million euros. We intend to do this every year until 2030. We've also included hydrogen in our recovery and resilience program, and we will also include hydrogen in our multi-annual financial agreement with the European Union. The priority on green hydrogen will contribute to transform the historical profile of Portugal from a net importer of energy into an energy exporter. Will also allow us to create new industrial poles, consolidating, almost finishing, the already boosted Portuguese renewable sector. Additionally, the decision to cut off coal-fired power stations in 2021 in the beginning will allow us to convert existing sites and infrastructure to hydrogen production. To end, Portugal is now assessing, and we wish to present it very, very soon to the European Commission and to our European partners. I'm just finishing. We want to based on European legislation, we want to present a joint support for exports. We intend to implement cross-border support mechanisms applied to green hydrogen projects and other renewable energy sources based on the RED II directive, transposition of Article 9 of Directive EU 2018/2001 of the European Parliament, within the framework of joint projects between member states that allow partnerships between member states around concrete projects for the export of green hydrogen or hydrogen-based products. We intend to present this very, very soon to the European Commission and also send it informally to most of our partners in the European Union. This will be a steady framework that will allow cross-border partnerships around concrete projects that will facilitate the existence of import-export networks in Europe, because currently the only supports that are planned are national-based supports, and we need cross-border supports. And Portugal is working on that, and it will present its proposal very, very soon. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for this view from Portugal. Let me now move to Ukraine. Deputy Minister Demchenkov, what is the view from your country?
Good afternoon, dear colleagues. Thank you for your question about the geopolitical mapping. First of all, I would like to thank the organizer of this event for providing us with the opportunity to discuss the development of hydrogen energy. Traditional energy trade is a subject to geopolitical and international agreements and even trade wars. We know how much problems and issues construction of oil and gas pipelines can raise. Ukraine, being a transit country, perfectly knows that, and that is why we want to be ready for a new hydrogen challenge. Because of Ukraine's geographical advantages, availability of water resources, electricity overproduction, and proximity to the EU borders, the European Commission considers Ukraine a promising exporter of clean hydrogen. Therefore, determining the prospects of transportation and storage of renewable gas is one of the priority tasks for Ukraine. Currently, the gas TSO of Ukraine is working to determine the full range of technological, regulatory, and economic prospects. The main goal in the near future is to determine the possibility of using the existing main gas pipelines and compressor station of our TSO after 2025 for the transportation of renewable gas and the hydrogen natural gas mixture. This can become Ukrainian contribution into new geopolitical hydrogen map. Thank you. Appreciate to be here today with you and ready for next question.
Thank you very much, Deputy Minister of Ukraine. Another view from the neighborhood, State Secretary Mr. Tiller. What is Norway's view of things?
Thank you. Hello, yeah. Thank you for inviting me to participate in this timely panel on the geopolitics of hydrogen, and a special thank you, of course, to the Berlin Energy Transition Dialogue for arranging this. Now, Germany and the UAE and Norway worked closely together with IRENA on the commission, which delivered the report, The Geopolitics of Energy Transformation, last year. So it's a pleasure to be here to follow up on this work. As a country with a century-long industrial history with hydrogen, we have seen the different stages in the evolution to the point where we are today. Now, Norway has developed and used our rich natural resources, be it renewable energy resources or petroleum and gas, in a manner that benefits all of our society, and we will continue to do that. We are blessed here with vast energy resources. The Norwegian electricity production is based almost entirely on hydropower, which can be stored in reservoirs, and our power mix is therefore almost 100% renewable, and even with a surplus for export in most years. And we also have a great potential off our coasts in for floating offshore wind in the future. And who knows, this may be the basis for the production of green hydrogen. Furthermore, as you are well aware, Norway is the third largest net exporter of gas internationally. And we foresee that we will continue to export large volumes of natural gas as long as there is a market demand. And we also believe that in the longer term, our natural gas could become the basis for low-emission hydrogen production in combination with carbon capture and storage. So let me just briefly say then that a month ago or so, our government presented a white paper to Parliament where we propose to fund a full chain project for carbon capture and storage. And we have committed about 1.7 billion euros towards this project, and we are calling it Longship. So you can Google that and look more into it if you would like. Now, when it comes to sources of hydrogen, we believe it's essential that governments take a technology neutral approach. What matters is that we are able to produce enough volumes of clean, low emission hydrogen at the lowest possible cost. And we believe this is best secured by competitive energy markets with efficient pricing of greenhouse gas emissions. And having said that, we do see a great potential for the use of hydrogen also domestically in Norway. I will return to this in the discussion after, but let me just briefly say that as I heard from Portugal here and Chile also, we have made a national hydrogen strategy in Norway as well. We put forward it last summer, and we will develop this further and have a roadmap for hydrogen going forward. So we are committed to this as a government also. However, as you know, high costs and immature technologies at this stage appear to be central barriers for a commercial hydrogen economy, but we will keep working on this. So we are, as I said, committed to more pilot and more demonstration projects. And I think we'll leave it at that for now. And thank you for your attention. I'm looking forward to the rest of the panel discussion.
Thank you very much, Mr. Tiller. Now to Ms. Westhäuser. How is the view of a company that is active worldwide, Siemens Energy? What are drivers and factors? How will hydrogen redraw the geopolitical map?
Dear ministers, dear excellencies, dear ladies and gentlemen, I'm very pleased to be here with you to represent the perspective of an industrial player. I'm personally also very passionate about hydrogen because for the first time in the history, it enables the transport and the export of energy as energy carrier, not being a source of energy, but energy carrier. And the conditions for that are favorable renewable conditions, of course, specifically high loading hours of the equipment or the electrolyzers we provide as equipment for that. Availability of water and land, and availability of infrastructure, access to infrastructure like harbors or pipelines. And last but not least, also the availability of, if available, of CO2 sources for synthesization. And all countries represented here in the panel have those favorable conditions, and therefore, from my point of view, have a bright future for green hydrogen. And with them, also us, Synergy. We are in discussions in the development of projects in most of those countries, of very promising projects. And as Siemens Energy, we cover the broadest portfolio of hydrogen and power-to-X value chain, starting with power generation, with wind renewables, through grid integration, through electrolyzers, compression equipment, compressors for transportation and for hydrogen itself, but also for utilization of hydrogen in gas turbines. And our really our vision is to burn 100% of hydrogen in our turbines. And therefore, I think we as Siemens Energy have also a very bright future with hydrogen in those countries represented here in the panel, and I'm very much looking to the discussion here in the panel.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Westhäuser. Now, my question to Mr. Icken. How would you assess the geopolitical changes that are ahead of us when we move towards hydrogen?
Thank you very much, Mrs. Westphal. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, first of all, I would like to thank you for the kind invitation. I'm very glad to represent today our Energy Minister, Mr. Rabah, who is unfortunately unable to attend because of a last-minute emergency. During the Berlin Energy Transition Dialogue in 2018, I was participating to a session for Power-to-X in the Library Hall. And I'm very happy to see that the topic of hydrogen reached today the Willy Brandt and Adenauer rooms. The topic is clearly becoming very important. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, if the energy carrier hydrogen becomes as important as fossil fuels, we might have the opportunity to ease tensions and to have a better distribution of wealth. And this means more stability and more social development in different regions of the world, and especially in Africa, because of the abundance of renewable natural resources. This will not only affect the energy sector in exporter countries through the generalization of the energy access, but we believe it will strongly contribute to strengthen different local infrastructures, especially for potable water, as well as to develop the irrigation for having a sustainable agriculture. A prosperous and safe Africa means as well a prosperous and safe Europe. I believe we will also have the opportunity through more technology cooperation and technology transfer to set up industrial regional clusters to be able to reduce costs, to create jobs, and to have a fast implementation of our hydrogen strategies. We have to learn from our past experiences. And if you allow me to take the example of the development and the destiny of the PV industry in Europe, we had to have more regional cooperation to keep the advantages locally and to stay competitive. This will, in any case, guarantee more resilient supply chains. And we saw during this difficult pandemic time how important supply chains are. The Kingdom of Morocco has huge potentials regarding wind power, regarding solar energy, and we set up already ambitious renewable energy strategies. We would like to confirm our commitment to support the international energy transition, as well as to play an important role in the global green hydrogen economy. And we are already working with international partners, and especially with Germany, to set up the first ambitious reference projects to be able to start writing history and to shape the future of a clean world.
Thank you very much, Mr. Icken. You have all painted a very colorful future, but also a very bright future with a very positive pictures behind. And some of you mentioned that we have the chance to ease tensions, we have the chance to write new potentials, and also an even distribution of wealth, which I think is a very important point, also spot on more social equality. So also from the keynotes, we learned that hydrogen has a role to play in a carbon neutral world till 2050 or climate neutral world. But my question now would be, if we foresee that, what are the major obstacles that you can identify? But also what are the major driving factors in order to move forward to a global hydrogen economy? And if I may, I would pass this back to Mrs. Westhäuser first and then to other speakers, please. Unmute your mic, please.
Thank you, Kirsten. Yeah, it's in fact, it's all about speed and scale from my point of view. And last but not least, it starts with the offtake, with a guaranteed offtake, and at which point of time an offtaker would take an investment decision. It would take an investment decision if a project is bankable. The bankability of a project depends to a higher degree from a business case, from a viable business case. And again, the viability of a business case strongly depends on the renewable energy conditions, but also on the large-scale demonstration projects and governmental support in this regard. I think with the hydrogen, we are now where we were with renewable sources some 20, 30 years ago. At that point of time, the wind and solar power were not competitive at all, and they were far too expensive to be rolled out globally. But the willingness of many countries, also represented here in the panel, to support and to promote these forms of energy, to create market demand, cost scale and cost regression at the end. And this is, from my point of view, what we need right now. We need those large-scale demonstration projects. We need support of the offtake to demonstrate technology readiness and to create scale, to lower our costs, and to improve the bankability of the projects. And here our hope is that the European, but also the German hydrogen strategies will be implemented soon to create this market demand. And until then, we are looking also for bridging instruments like offtake guarantees or state guarantees, also covering first mover risks. All in all, we need to start now because it's all about the speed and scale from my point of view.
Thank you. It's all about the speed and scale. Minister Jobet, would you, what would be the driving factors that you could identify, and what are the steps in the paths you foresee?
Yes, I agree with what was just said. I think speed and scale are essential to reduce costs, which in turn will open opportunities for offtakes, right? So we have some chicken or egg problem there, and I think the government role will be very important. But I think in this context of economic crisis that was triggered all around the world because of the COVID pandemic, I think it's very important also to pay attention to the social challenges, right? For example, in Chile, we are phasing out all our coal capacity before 2040, right? And that opens the opportunity to develop more rapidly our renewable potential and then green hydrogen, right? But as we close coal-fired plants, we will lose jobs, right? And that is always bad news, but especially bad news in this economic context, right? So we need to really pay attention to the social costs of this energy transition. And I think there the role of private companies, of course, is very important, but again, the role of governments to support those workers is going to be very important as well. So the social aspect of this, I think, is very important. Sometimes we put a lot of attention on the economic aspects, on the technological aspects, but I think the social aspects are very important as well.
Mm-hmm. Deputy Minister Demchenkov, you highlighted also the need of very precise steps in, for example, decarbonizing the gas value chain, using the existing infrastructure we have. So what are the major steps that you foresee, and what are major obstacles?
Kirsten, thank you for this important question. To guarantee the success of hydrogen energy transition, it is necessary to ensure reliability of the hydrogen supply, affordability, and environmental friendliness. Ukraine has significant potential in hydrogen production, its domestic use and export to other countries. As you might know, we have well-developed renewable energy sector, which provides us with a great opportunity for hydrogen production, especially so in terms of the production of green hydrogen. Today, Ukraine has a total installed capacity of wind and solar power plants of 7.5 gigawatt compared to 2 gigawatt as of end of 2018. Next 10 years, we expect increasing renewable energy in energy balance to 25%. Our gas system transmission operator is launching pilot project in order to test the capacity of the gas transmission system and relevant technical regulations for hydrogen transportation. So Ukraine can become a reliable partner of the hydrogen supply. If we talk about affordability, it is a key factor of wide hydrogen use in different sectors. Here, countries, governments, and private sector must unite to achieve a synergy. Some countries need more assistance or support, others less. That's why only together we can enter a global hydrogen economy. Thank you.
This question is also a question for Norway, I think. You described the role that CCS, for example, plays. You described the project a long ship. What are major obstacles and what is the major point and the momentum to move forward and to explore it right now, Mr. Tiller?
Well, I think that Westhäuser from Siemens is spot on in her analysis, and I think the barriers that we see for our carbon capture and storage technology development is parallel to what we're discussing in terms of hydrogen. I mean, these are at the moment, very expensive technologies. Now we have decided to invest heavily in the CCS project, as I said in my opening remarks. But we sure hope to contribute also towards the development of hydrogen in other ways. It's obvious to everyone, as Westhäuser pointed to, that the cost efficiency, the price here is obviously a barrier. I think the approach that we're taking in Norway, relatively small country, but we have a very long coast where we have a well-developed maritime sector. So we're really zooming in on the maritime sector and ships technology to see if we can to make a real contribution there. So I'd like to mention one example. We have a company called Nordled, which is building the first zero-emission hydrogen electric ferry that will be operational from next year onward. And we have another example called Ship FC, a project that has received funds from the Horizon 2020 program. And they aim to install the world's first green ammonia fuel cell on the offshore vessel Viking Energy by late 2023. And I think to keep it brief here, this is more of what we need to see. And we are trying in our strategy here in Norway to build these value chains where you have takeoff and supply. And that's the way we move forward incrementally. And hopefully the time it will take us for hydrogen to become competitive will be shorter than the story has been with renewables, as was pointed out by Siemens here. Thank you.
Thank you. That's interesting that you have the optimism that it will be faster than renewables. And you mentioned the necessity to incrementally move forward with the technologies. But General Secretary La Camera also mentioned that it's technology, it's policies, it's markets, and I think this is really spot on the need of governance. So I would like to pass this to Mr. Icken, because you made a very interesting point on the PV story that basically Europe and then North Africa had together. So what is now the need for the two regions? How could we move forward, and also thinking through the governance challenge? Do we have the right institutions in place? How should we move forward policy-wise?
I will say, of course, we have already then the institutions, and we had the opportunity through the important development of renewable energies, the opportunity to build very efficient and active institutions. I would say we were very innovative regarding as well the institutional framework. Today, I think there are a lot of opportunities coming from this new hydrogen economy, because we have the opportunity to involve more and more partners. I remember 10 years ago when we spoke about Desertec, it was ambitious. It was a very good concept and approach. It was difficult because we
Excuse me, I think we
had only...
Excuse you, could you repeat maybe the last 20 seconds? Because I think we have a connection problem here. Oh, I just hear that we have lost the connection. So this gives me the chance to put the same question to Deputy Minister Galamba. How do you see the governance challenge? how to introduce common standards, terminology, and certification.
Yes, thank you very much. Well, standards are important because coordination is key for the success of this strategy. You asked in the beginning what was the critical factor. Zeman said that it was speed and scale. I agree, and I would add coordination. Coordination is critical because we need to set up production and demand at the same time. So coordination is key for internal market, and coordination is key for exports and imports. I'll give you an example. In Portugal, we have established our standards. We have followed European best practices, although this has not been legislated, but standards are critical to ensure partnerships and cross-border relationships. We already have the standards in Portugal, so we have cleared the path for production and usage of hydrogen in Portugal. But that is not enough. We need to transcend our borders and forge partnership and trading relations. If we want hydrogen to become a global commodity, if we want to promote cross-border transactions, then standards and shared standards are critical. That is why I'll give you an example. In Portugal, we are currently, we have a very large-scale project in the deep sea port of Sines, which would be part for internal demand, part for exports. The ambition of that project, the size of that project will depend on firm offtake commitments from Northern European countries. We are willing to do a very large-scale project, 1 gigawatt or more, but the pace under which we will execute it and whether it will be 1 gigawatt or more depends on coordinating the project with other countries. That's why I mentioned in my intervention that we're working within European legislation to set up a firm, transparent, and objective framework under which third-party countries within the European Union can be partners of specific projects. Why? Because this is the way that we thought that we could create standards for coordination, for the participation of third-party countries with two objectives. To ensure something that is not ensured today in Europe, a way to subsidize the price of exports, but also to allow third parties to become investor partners in specific projects. This is a way, in our opinion, that will help, starting from specific projects that are already in their structure, partnerships with other countries and partnerships with other companies that want to be off-takers, a framework where standards can be discussed and concrete export and import links can be established. So for us, speed for sure, scale definitely, but coordination is key. We need to coordinate at all times production and usage, and when necessary, transport and distribution, because some of it will involve large, long distance transport and distribution. So for us, standards will always have to be seen within the framework of coordination as a key factor for the success of any strategy that aims to deploy at a larger scale and leaving the pilot world hydrogen. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So it's a highlight really on specific projects and trying and testing also the regulatory framework behind. I'm very happy to see Mr. Icken again. We lost you when you described your experiences from Desert Tech. Please, I would like to give you the opportunity to go on with this experience and the lessons.
Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity then to finish my intervention, and I'm sorry for the technical live virtual problem. I was then saying, if I have then to mention the challenge regarding the technology, regarding the implementing of then this strategy, our colleague from Siemens mentioned the challenge to scale up. We have to scale up the equipments, the electrolyzers, and we have to move from megawatts to gigawatts. And of course, we have to reduce costs and then to pay attention on the international competition. And this is very important. We have to evaluate resource sustainability as well. And the collaboration between countries is very important. And I want to take the opportunity to thank and then to pay tribute to Germany for the different mechanisms and instruments which are now offered, like the German technical cooperation, the energy partnerships between countries, the Power to X hub, Berlin. This will allow us then to avoid then the mistakes, but on the same time to have access to benchmarks and then to already existing pioneering policies in the EU and as well in the US, in Japan, and so on. I think as well that this international cooperation must be on multiple levels, on R&D, pilot projects, demonstration, and to develop first industrial projects. My point of view is it's important to disseminate knowledge and know-how to be able really then to reduce costs and then to be competitive. And I think we would be then able to do this if we are able to set up regional industrial clusters.
Thank you. So hydrogen diplomacy at many levels and exchange of multiple actors possibly. What are your thoughts on that, Minister Jobet? How should the governance system develop? Do we have the right institutions also in place?
Well, I think we as the energy sector is navigating this transition. I think the institutions need to adapt as well, right, very quickly. I really want to emphasize the importance of common standards and certification that was mentioned earlier, because I think that comes back to the question of speed, of how quickly we're going to develop this industry, right? Let me give you like two examples, right? If technology, we need technology to move quickly to reduce costs, right? And if we want to do that, especially since the renewable resources to produce green hydrogen are distributed all around the world, we need to be able to use that technology in different countries, ideally at the same time, or as quickly as possible, right? But if local standards, for example, in safety standards, are different from country to country, that will slow down the process of adopting the technology that was developed in one country in another country if those two countries have different standards, for example, right? So standards are very important. Also, for example, what are we gonna, how are we gonna define green hydrogen, right? I mean, how are we gonna define that it's green? And what are the requirements that countries need to comply with to be able to certify that hydrogen as green, right? We need to move very quickly there if we want to really accelerate the development of this industry. And that's why we're working very, very aggressively to develop our own regulation. We're working with many international organizations. I think international cooperation here is essential, as has been said. And I really want to thank again the support from many international institutions, but especially from the Germany agency GIZ. They have been an enormous source of support. They have played an invaluable role conducting two separate hydrogen regulatory studies that are basically the foundations for the development of our own regulation. So I think this is an area we need to work very aggressively and cooperate. And I think what I've heard from the different participants in the panel, I think we share this view, and I think that's good news for what we need to do going forward.
Thank you very much for your insights. I think we are coming now to an end with our discussion. It's really my pleasure and my honor to thank you, esteemed panelists, for insightful and inspiring statements and contributions. You all highlighted the necessity of speed and scale, that it is parallel tracks of technology, policies, markets, and really that governance have a key role to play. We have asked whether hydrogen is the new oil, And of course, comparisons always limp. But my takeaway from this distinguished panel is that because of the described and anticipated effects, the associated power and financial shifts, and the geopolitical ramifications, hydrogen is somewhat the new oil. What is important to highlight, though, is that it will not just perpetuate existing importer and exporter relations. Instead, it will really offer new opportunities, but also risks for countries. Rolling out hydrogen does not mean simply replicating the one and only value chain, not the one and only business model and financial scheme, but instead entails really complex and diverse production and value chains into different demand sectors. And I think you really made this very clear in your interventions. So to push it a little bit to the extreme, hydrogen is as much about energy value chains as it is about reimagining national economies and recalibrating the global division of labor. And Mr. Icken said really spot on that we will see maybe a more even and hopefully distribution of wealth. So really hydrogen offers opportunities to deepening and diversifying value chains for various countries. So to conclude, hydrogen has a significant impact for the energy transition and for the new energy system. As timing, technology and innovation are key, geoeconomic competition and rivalry might also intensify. So this brings me back to the analogy with oil. And you all made very clear that hydrogen deserves a much more collaborative and cooperative start than oil had in the past. We really require cooperation and common action. Trade relations will be less determined by geology or geography, but the opportunities to participate are much more evenly distributed since renewable energy is found almost everywhere. And General Secretary La Camera really made spot on. So hydrogen is about real partnerships, bilaterally to kickstart, to engage in tandems, but also, and I think this would be my final word, to really start with multilateral governance to establish a level playing field. So many wholehearted thanks again, and a real success to all of us in kicking off the hydrogen economy. And over to Jennifer Porto with that. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Westphal. That was well done. That was wonderful. And Your Excellencies and esteemed panelists, thank you very much for that enlightening round. And now, to wrap up and close out today's e-panel, please welcome to the podium Michael Chlor-Berchtold, Director General for Economic Affairs and Sustainable Development at the Federal Foreign Office. Mr. Chlor-Berchtold.
Thank you very much, Ms. Porto, for giving me the floor. Thank you very much. I guess the burden is now on me, so to say, to sum up this very timely and forward-looking event today. I think the debate today has made it very clear to all of us, hydrogen is here to stay. Hydrogen will transform our energy systems. It will transform our economies, and thereby also it will transform the relationships between many countries. It will have considerable overall geopolitical impact. In her introduction, State Secretary Leendertse outlined the strong link between foreign policy and the upcoming global market for CO2 neutral hydrogen. State Secretary Feicht then presented major points of the German hydrogen strategy and first efforts to reach out to international partners. And you have seen, he showed us he has some impressive pilot projects in the pipeline. Director General La Camera stressed the really crucial importance of renewables for hydrogen. In the long run, it will only be green hydrogen produced from renewables that will provide a sustainable option. The following panel debate, we heard impressively how hydrogen has become a centerpiece for decision makers across the whole globe. A great thank you goes to the participants, Minister Jobet from Chile, State Secretary Galamba from Portugal, State Secretary Tiller of Norway, Deputy Minister Demchenkov of Ukraine, Director General Iken of Morocco, and Ms. Westhäuser of Siemens. You have provided us with really lively and very fruitful debate today. Many thanks to you for this. And allow me to take a quick look at where do we take it from now. The German Foreign Office will continue to foster the dialogue on this important topic. As already announced, in addition to our support for IRENA, we are going to provide a voluntary contribution to IRENA for a comprehensive report on the geopolitics of hydrogen, based on the work of the Global Commission. It is our aim to contribute to a shift of the geopolitical debate from the traditional fossil fuels to renewable energies with particular focus on hydrogen. In this respect, we will also count on the support of Dr. Kirsten Westphal, the foreign policy expert in Germany's National Hydrogen Council. Thank you all very much for moderating today's panel debate with your excellent input. Last but not least, a great thank you to Ms. Porto and the team of the Berlin Energy Transition Dialogue for facilitating today's event. I'm already looking forward to next year's Berlin Energy Transition Dialogue in March 2021. I hope to see many of you for this flagship conference in whatever form COVID-19 will permit, we will see. So stay safe and keep your great engagement on energy transition and hydrogen in particular. Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, our hosts, State Secretary Leendertse and State Secretary Feicht, Director General La Camera, Excellencies, esteemed panelists, Kirsten Westphal, Michael Chlor-Berchtold, thank you all. To everyone who joined us in the live stream today, thank you so much for your contributions, your insights, and your time. Today's e-panel has come to a close. We look forward to seeing you again online soon. You can look for us on YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, and of course the BETD website. Thank you all so much, and goodbye.